Hey everybody, so today we're going to talk about internet connectivity. Now, I'm not sure about you, but before me and Katie even purchased our RV, one of our biggest concerns was how are we going to stay connected to the internet? And considering we run our business over the internet, it's vitally important that we're connected as much as possible. Now, in previous videos, which you can see here, we did highlight our Wi-Fi system, which is a system of antennas and boosters that allow us to reach out, grab a Wi-Fi signal, pull it into the RV, and rebroadcast it. Now, so far, that's been really decent for us. Fortunately, most of the places we've been so far have had good Wi-Fi, and when they haven't, we've had a strong cellular signal, so we've been able to run data and make phone calls and stuff like that off of that. However, as we all know, that is not the case everywhere. And we found that out the hard way as soon as we got here to the RV repair shop, because the first thing we noticed is that there were no Wi-Fi signals for us to pull in. And then on top of that, our cellular service was 1, 2, maybe on a special occasion we'd get 3 bars. And that made it really difficult because some jobs that would generally take a minute to 3 minutes are now taking 30 to 45 as it times out and reconnects, times out and reconnects. And it gets really hard and frustrating to work like that. So we went back to some of our research before we even purchased our RV, and we came across weBoost. And on top of that, we've heard a ton of great things just since we've been in the RV. Actually, after we put up our Wi-Fi system video, we had a lot of people tell us that for mobile, weBoost is the best way to go. So we decided, you know what, it's time to try to do something, especially since we're here and we have bad internet and we plan on doing a lot more boondocking in the future. So we reached out to weBoost and they agreed to send us the Drive 4G-X RV in exchange for a review. So that's what we're doing. And then as we move forward here, we're going to do an unboxing. So if you do decide to go this route, you can know what to expect to come in the box when you get it. And then we're going to dive into our installation process. But I do want to let you know that we're not going to do the full permanent installation at this stage. And that's mainly because we're not exactly sure if we want the interior antenna up front or in the back. We just don't know which way we want to go as of yet. But we will go through the process of getting up on the roof and basically putting the exterior antenna up and then running the wires into the RV. Now, as we sit here before we get to the unboxing, one of the main reasons we did this is because the weBoost Drive 4G-X RV is supposed to boost the cell signal up to 32 times. So hopefully when we install it, it'll basically make our download and upload speeds faster, as well as make it easier for us to make phone calls from inside the RV. But anyway, let's get into the unboxing. All right, let's do this. First, we'll start with the box. As you can see here, it is the weBoost RV cellular signal booster. It is the Drive 4G-X RV. On the side over here, it lists the steps of how it works. It receives the signal, it boosts the signal, it expands the signal. And then it also says here on the front that it works with all US carriers, it works with all phones, and then with all RVs. So me and Katie are absolutely thrilled to give this a shot and see how it works, because it could basically change our lives and make it a lot easier. But let's get into the unboxing. Just like all the boxes nowadays, there's, you know, tape on them. All right, so as you first open the box, you have an installation overview, and then you have the instruction manual. And then if you look here, you have install box B and install box A. Go ahead and pull those out. So on here, I'm not sure if you can see it, but on install box A, it says start installation with this box. And then it says steps in the contents are 1, 2, 3, 6, and 8. So we'll put that right there for now. And we'll get to install box B, which I'll try to show you here. That also says the second installation box, and it's steps 4, 5, and 7. So this is now empty. Move that to the side. And then, since this is install box A, we'll go ahead and open it up first. This is really clean packaging, by the way. All right, so spin this around your way. And then here you have step 1, which is this box. On it, it says outside antenna is what this is, and it says mount outside antenna on pole or ladder so that the entire outside antenna is above the roof line of the RV and clear of other metal obstructions. So this is one of the reasons we're not going to do the permanent install right now, because with us being here at the RV repair shop, the back of our RV is actually really close to their metal building. So we're going to try it on the ladder first, but we'll go from there. Anyway, so that's the outside antenna. And then the second box in install box A is step contents 2, 3, 6, and 8. And it says this box includes accessories for outside installation and power to the Drive 4X booster. So we have that. Let's go ahead and move box A to the side. So box B has steps 4 and 5. Which is about mounting the booster and the bracket for the booster. Next we have step 7, which is connecting everything, the inside antenna with the booster. And there's one more box in here. Nope, that's just a spacer. All right. So that is all the boxes. So we'll start with the first step, which is the outside antenna. So as you open this up, you can see the outside antenna, and then there's an antenna installation guide that comes with it. Also, they have the brackets, which I'm imagining we'll use these to put around the ladder. And another mount. I think this is probably for if you're going to do it on the side versus on the ladder, but we'll get into that during the installation process once I read a couple of the installation books. All right, so that's the outside antenna. Next from box A is step connection contents 2, 3, and 6. Oh, this is awesome. They're independently labeled here, so they have everything you need. This looks like possibly, yeah, this is a drill bit for the hole you need to drill if you're doing the permanent installation. And then step 8, this is actually the 110 volt wall plug for the booster. Step 3, this is connecting the outside antenna inside the RV. So if you're going to drill the hole, you can go in that way. I think we're going to go in our slide side. Okay, so this is optional power supply for 12 volt if you wanted to wire it directly into your 12 volt supply. And then step 6, oh, these are zip ties and sticky brackets for if you're doing the permanent installation and you drill in through there, you hook your cable down against the side of the RV, and then where it goes in, it has a little cover too for the hole you drill. So that is it for box number 2 out of install box A. So on to install box B now, we have connecting to the booster. So this is actually the interior antenna. Looks like the cable's already connected, so we'll route this to the booster and then, you know, out to the outside antenna. Next is steps 4 and 5 out of box B. Which is the actual booster itself. So we are going to install this from outside antenna to interior booster to interior antenna. All right, well that about wraps it up for the unboxing. Everything's here. I really like the way that it's all laid out with step numbers on them. Really gives you a clear idea about how to go about the process and get it done. But let's move on to getting this thing installed and see what type of boost we get. All right, so we're up here on the roof. We brought up everything we're gonna need to get the outside antenna installed. That is 1, the outside antenna, 2, the mounting brackets to attach it to the stair, and 3rd, this plate. I know I mentioned inside, I think it might be a side mounting bracket, but it's actually for the antenna and these brackets. You attach the antenna here, and then your loop brackets right there on the pole. I also went ahead and brought the coaxial up here so that once I have that installed on here, we can go ahead and run it down, so when I get inside I can just plug in and keep going with the process. One thing to note is in the instruction manual, it does say to make sure to attach your outside antenna up higher so that it's above your roof and any metal objects. Obviously right behind me you can see the shop, so we are going to try it here at first and see if it helps us. Right now at this point pretty much anything will help us, as you can see by these speed tests. But anyway, we're gonna go ahead and install this back here, and then if for whatever reason it doesn't do much, we'll try it up front afterwards. But let's go ahead and get it up. All right, so we got up here and we were installing this up here, and the brackets that came with it are a little bit too big for our ladder. So right now, since we're not permanently installing it, it is secure enough to hold it up here. So we're gonna leave it while we do some tests. But in the future, I'm gonna have to grab a couple more washers just to extend basically out to the nut so that they can stay on the threads and keep it tight if we do stay here on the ladder. But anyway, we're gonna go ahead and plug it in, drop the wire down, and then we'll start doing the rest from the inside. So that test was actually from about 3 weeks ago, but as you could tell from the before test, our internet was ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, our internet was non-existent, as you can see. I've never seen speed tests that low before, but then again, I've never had internet be as awful as it was while we were at the repair shop. I mean, it was awful.
Yeah, it was really bad. Now the good news is once we installed the weBoost, you could see that it dramatically increased our download and upload speeds.
I think most people probably start where we finished up at, but it still made a huge difference for us. And even though we were only at the repair shop a few more days after we installed the setup, we were productive for those last few days we were there to try to make up for the 2 months where we had no productivity.
Yeah. It was awesome. In those few days, we got more done than we probably did in the first, 2 months beforehand. But and that was even with the big metal building right behind it. It still dramatically increased our upload and download. So that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, the thing is, we wanted to test it in a few different environments before letting you know whether or not we thought it was worth it. So after we left the repair shop, we went to Estes Park, Colorado. And what's funny is that we actually, in the camping spot we were in, we had 0 cell service, which we've never experienced before. But it was perfect because we were able to test the weBoost, which also boosts your cell signal, so to see if it actually made a difference.
Yep. And when we first got there, we had Wi-Fi, which was good for internet, but we noticed that we weren't able to make or receive calls. So once we had the weBoost plugged in, we realized right away that as long as we were back there in front of the interior antenna, we were able to make and receive calls with clarity, no breaking up, nothing like that.
As soon as we set it up, I got all these calls from my mom, had all these voicemails and text messages, because I guess she had been trying to get a hold of me and even tried getting a hold of Eric, but our phones were in the living room and there was no service, and as soon as we brought him back towards the antenna in the bedroom, it was like going off. So
yeah, it's definitely important to note though that with the interior antenna, you do need to have your phone relatively close to it. If you check out this video up here from Love Your RV, he does a really good job of demonstrating how the distance from the interior antenna works with cell signal and data signal and things like that. But you do need to be relatively close to your interior antenna when in order to get that boost. Also as well, with the outside antenna, I wanted to note this. It is an omnidirectional antenna, meaning that it sends out a 360-degree signal trying to pull in. So you do need to install it up and down. If you do it sideways, it's going to be sending a signal this way, which probably isn't going to pick you anything up. So make sure your outside antenna is straight up and down. Yep, vertically installed.
What I was going to say, though, about the cell service, while it kind of sucked to have to go maybe in the bedroom to make or get the phone calls, it was better than nothing. So to go from having, like, nothing to being able to know that I could make a phone call or get a phone call was really awesome. Especially if you're, like, in an emergency situation, which we weren't. But it was just nice to have the option of having the call. If Eric had to go to the store, though, I was, like, had to leave my phone back there and then just kind of listen to it if he needed a call or anything.
Yeah. But being able to do that was really nice. So from our first 2 tests, I mean, it's absolutely amazing how well it works.
Yeah, and then after that, we ended up going to Utah, and the whole thing then was that we were trying to find a place to stay, but it was the weekend, so it was really hard to even find availability to begin with. But on top of that, it was the Falcons' first game, so Eric's only requirement is that we had Wi-Fi or cell service so he could watch the game that Sunday, which proved to be a lot more difficult than I thought, because pretty much all the places we were near didn't have Wi-Fi or didn't have good cell service, and we were looking at boondocking, and I was reading reviews on Campendium, and pretty much all the places near us also didn't have good cell service. Luckily, we found one place with availability. It was Utah Lake State Park. They had pretty decent service.
They actually, so when you went in, they had multiple loops with RV sites there, and depending on where you were at, the cell service would go from about 1 bar to 4 bars, depending, which an important thing to note, which we learned from Technomatia, is that when you're kind of testing your strengths, generally you don't want to go off of bars, you want to go off of your upload and download speed. Now, for us, when we were at that state park, our service was good enough to where we didn't really run a test of upload and download, but my phone was at about 3 or 4 bars, And I noticed that when we were there really wasn't a difference between having my phone by the weBoost antenna and not having it by the antenna.
It almost seemed to have like the opposite effect. Like when his phone was by the antenna, the internet for him was actually worse than when it was away from it. But what's weird is that with my phone, and he has an Android, I have an iPhone, I don't know if that makes a difference, but I had better experience with the weBoost in that spot than he did. So for him it had the opposite effect, and for me it was actually allowed me to do more with it.
Yeah, so we're not really sure exactly how that works, but
iPhones are better.
What we do know for sure is that the weBoost has definitely helped us out. Up until this point, for most of our journey, I'd say 8 to 11 months, we've always had either good Wi-Fi or really good cell service, and over the last 3 months, our cell service has been kind of shoddy, and
that's been our only source of internet has been Verizon, because we have the Verizon Unlimited plan, and that's been our source of Wi-Fi essentially. And so since it's been sucking, it's been really difficult to get work done. So which is really important because we work on the road. That's how we make money. So we need to have internet. So it's been really awesome to have the weBoost and be able to have a reliable source of internet.
Regardless of if there's Wi-Fi there or not.
Yeah.
Now, I think it is important that if you are going to be traveling in your RV to have multiple options. I mean, for the Wi-Fi, it's been awesome, our Wi-Fi setup, when there is a Wi-Fi option. But then at the same time, if there's not a Wi-Fi option and the cell signal is a little low, having the weBoost has definitely helped out there. So you never know where you're going to be and how the service is going to be. So by having multiple options, you can kind of always be covered. And that's what we've definitely realized over the last few months, is that by having those multiple options, we have a way to be on the internet. So
yeah, definitely. And even recently too, we were in Truckee, and their Wi-Fi, they had Wi-Fi, but it wasn't until we got there that we found out that it was down because it had gotten struck by lightning. So luckily the weBoost helped us out in that situation too. So overall, I would just say if you're RVing, I would absolutely recommend having weBoost and your tools of internet setup options for sure, because it's made a massive difference. I mean, our website, we actually had to switch servers while we've been on the road, like in the past couple weeks, and that was a headache in itself. But if we didn't have internet, I would have been freaking out, because I wouldn't have been able to switch hosting companies and make updates, and I had to do all of that, using the weBoost. So luckily I had that available. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, we would definitely 100% recommend having it if you're on the road.
The other thing I was going to mention is that we still haven't set it up permanently yet. We have the cable coming through the slide out, like the crack of it, and it's been working pretty good. We do have to unhook it whenever we switch spots, but it hasn't been a big deal. We kind of just did that really to test it before we set it up permanently. And
right now it doesn't look the most pretty, and Katie's getting really sick and tired of seeing the cables.
I don't like having the cable come by my nightstand. It's annoying. So yeah, we're gonna have to permanently install it and clean that up. But I've been okay with it while we've been testing it, And the thing is, if you're not comfortable permanently setting it up, you can always do it this way too. So you can do whichever way you want.
Yeah, but we're gonna make it pretty for Katie, and when we do, we'll shoot a little video to show you how we go about that. I'm not sure yet if we're going to drill a new hole and use the insulation hardware that came with it, or if we'll find an existing hole from the roof to bring it in. We're going to figure that out, but we'll let you know once we find a way that way. But overall, we're extremely satisfied. Our only regret is that we didn't get it sooner. But anyway, that about wraps it up. If you guys have any questions or comments, definitely feel free to reach out. Also, down below, we'll put a link to the weBoost product. It is an affiliate link. And then we'll also put a link down there to our website where we'll go into info on...
so you'll see the setup that we have.
Yep, exactly. So definitely check those out if you have further questions, or ask us. That's cool too.
Yeah, we just hope that you found this helpful, because I know getting internet on the road can be kind of stressful and confusing. So, hopefully this helps you out a little bit at least, or gives you some kind of insight as to whether or not it's the right setup for you or not.
Yep, absolutely. But anyway, thank you guys so much for swinging by today. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you again soon.